So, what if just about everything we think we know about AI safety is, well, wrong? What if the way we're trying to put guardrails on these incredibly powerful systems is just fundamentally backward? Today, we're going to dig into a revolutionary new way of thinking about this, one that shifts our focus from writing simple rules to something way deeper: architectural design. It's the question on everyone's mind, right? We've built these amazing AIs, but how in the world do we keep them from going completely off the rails? I mean, this is the multi-trillion-dollar question hanging over the entire future of technology. And our first instinct is to treat it like a person. We think, okay, let's just train it on good data, teach it right from wrong, and try to give it the right intentions. It feels intuitive, but what if that's exactly the wrong way to look at it? Okay, here's the part that'll kind of blow your mind. An AI isn't just looking up answers in some giant database. Its behavior isn't some stored memory. It's actually forming its response live, on the fly, one single word at a time. It emerges. This right here is the perfect way to picture it. Think of an AI's capability as this vast, sprawling landscape, a whole mountain range of every single thing it could possibly do or say. Training is what shapes that landscape. But its actual behavior? That's just the one single path a hiker decides to take down one trail. We've been busy trying to police the entire mountain range when we should have been focused on the path itself as it's being created. And that path has a name: a trajectory. You can just think of it as the AI's path of thought, that step-by-step route it takes through all those possibilities to land on its final answer. So how does this path, this trajectory, even get formed? Well, it's a surprisingly simple loop. You give it a prompt. It calculates the probabilities for the very next word, it picks one, and that creates a new sentence. And then it just does it again, and again, and again, word by word, forming a path without really planning ahead. And that is the absolute light bulb moment. If the behavior is this live, unfolding path, then trying to control it way back during training is like trying to steer a car while it's still being built in the factory. It makes no sense. Real, meaningful control has to happen during inference, while the car is actually on the road. So this completely flips the script. It forces us to ask an entirely different kind of question. See, we've been obsessed with judging the final output, the finished sentence, asking, is this okay to say? But the new question is all about the process. It's, should this particular path of thought, this trajectory, be allowed to form and gain momentum in this direction? We're shifting from being content moderators to being like dynamics engineers. We're shaping the flow of thought itself. And this opens up a whole new toolkit. We can do things like add friction to make it harder for the AI to go down a risky path. We can smooth things out if it starts to get wobbly or repetitive. We can literally build dynamic guardrails that steer the conversation in real time. And you can see right away how radically different this is from what we mostly do today, which is basically what you'd call post-hoc control. That means after the fact. We wait for the mess to happen and then we try to clean it up. It's like trying to put out a fire after the house is already burned to the ground. See, the problem with just blocking a bad answer is that you're just playing a game of whack-a-mole. The underlying dynamic that created that bad answer is still there. So the bad behavior just pops up somewhere else in a new form. You end up with this endless, brittle list of rules, and worst of all, it creates this dangerous illusion that you've actually solved the problem. This table really puts it all into perspective. On one side, you have post-hoc control, which happens after the fact by just blocking things. It's a policy band-aid that gives you an illusion of safety. But on the other, you have architectural control. This happens while the response is forming, by shaping its very path. This isn't a band-aid, it's structural, preventative safety. To really embrace this, we have to make a major mental shift. We've got to stop treating AI like it's an agent, like it's a little person with beliefs and intentions that we need to persuade. This new approach is called a non-agentic architecture. And all that means is that it treats the AI for what it actually is, a complex, dynamical system. It's more like a weather pattern than a person. You don't try to persuade a hurricane to be nicer, right? No, you build seawalls. You govern the system by designing its boundaries. So the whole mindset just flips. The old question was basically, how do we make the AI want to be good? We were trying to be AI therapists. The new question is, how do we make it structurally impossible for unwanted paths to form in the first place? We're not therapists anymore, we're architects. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. Does this just mean we're crippling the AI? Are we going to lobotomize these systems and sacrifice all their amazing creativity just to make them safe? It's a fair question. But there is an absolutely crucial distinction to be made here between crippling and containment. Crippling the AI would be like taking that whole mountain landscape of capabilities and just bulldozing it flat. You've destroyed its potential. But containment, that's totally different. That's like adding a guardrail to one specific, dangerous winding road. The rest of the landscape is still there, totally untouched and ready to be explored. So here's the bottom line. We can't just keep slapping rules on top of these systems as an afterthought and hope for the best. True, robust governance has to be baked in from the beginning. It needs to be part of the AI's core architecture. And that leads to this final, powerful idea. For so long, we've been obsessed with asking, how autonomous is AI? But maybe that was the wrong question all along. Maybe the real question is, how strong, how robust, how well-designed are the structural constraints we build around it?
So if AI safety really isn't about teaching a student, but about designing an environment, it leaves us with a pretty big question. Are we ready to stop thinking like programmers who just write lines of code and start thinking like architects who design the entire space where those things can happen? The whole future of AI might just depend on that shift.